Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would show everybody how I kind of roughly make my chop and kind of do I do things, the supplements I use, what utensils and everything else that I use. So obviously I use this to chop everything. I've had it for a very long time. It's only tiny, I think it's for baby food, but it's a mini chopper. These are all the kind of supplements and kind of extra little bits that I add in. That's my little weighing scale and just the pot I use for weighing. And then I have all my vegetables. And then I've got 2 eggs which I've got to boil up and add at the end. And I shall just do a step-by-step how I add things, the consistency and things like that. So first I'm going to add in half a pack of these dried mealworms into my blender. There's 100 grams in this packet and I use 50 grams each time. So roughly, I forgot to turn it on. Right, cover your ears. Ah, there you go. So that's the consistency of the mealworms. Into the bowl. So next I have got some baby corn. So what I do is I just kind of snap this up and put it in the pot. Please excuse the pot, it's probably going to end up looking dirtier and dirtier. So bear with me whilst I just do that one. Right, so now I'm going to kind of blend this to the consistency that it'll kind of look like scrambled eggs. Nearly, not quite. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Kind of looks like scrambled eggs. So I will now chuck that in the bowl. Give that a little mix. Mixy mix. It always looks so appetizing before, whilst I'm adding in kind of like just the kind of supplements and things like that. So that is that so far. Next I'm going to add in some seaweed. This is just really good for just some extra minerals and a little bit of crunch. I got this from the horse section. As it says, it's a broad spectrum vitamin and mineral supplements for coat and hoofs. But yeah, I got this from the horse section in like an outdoor shop, just a local kind of feed store. Kind of pour a little bit on the top and give it a mix. So I do quite a good scoop. There we go. And then I'll give that a mix. Tasty. I always joke with my son that we're going to make flapjacks. Mealworm flapjacks. Right, so I've got my little scales here. And I'm going to be adding some calcium carbonate. Now, some breeders and other keepers do this. Some don't. I've done this for, I think, the last year. And I just add like the maintenance dosage. So I'm going to do 50 grams. So this is to help with calcium. It's got nothing else in it. And for budgies to absorb calcium, they need vitamin D3. And for that, I will use a little bit of cod liver oil. So I'm going to use 10 ml. But I put that in at the end once everything's done. And that has vitamin D3 in it. And that helps with the absorption of the calcium. And I have no problems with my birds eating this whatsoever. Right, so I've got a little over 50 grams there. So I'm going to pour that one in. Now, it always looks really unappetizing at the moment. Right, I'll go put that in the... Whoop, I'll put that in the sink and I shall... Oh, wash that off. Okay, I was going to put that in the sink. Turn off. Right. Right, I'll give that a wash. So this always looks really unappetizing and a bit powdery, but as I start adding more vegetables, tasty baby corn, mealworms, seaweed, calcium carbonate, rock powder, yeah, that is 100%. Right, on to the next one. Next we're going to add a few radishes. So I normally cut these in half and then put them in the chopper. Right, I've got about a handful of sliced radishes there. So let's give these a chop. Again, I kind of make the consistency of scrambled egg, but these obviously are a bit wetter, so I won't do it as long. And these kind of give the food a little bit of a crunchy and a peppery taste. There you go, it's the consistency of the radishes. There you go, that's the radishes added in. Give that a mix. Again, look at that, looking yummy as you like. Next I've got carrots. I will probably take, depending on the size, 2, maybe 3. That's quite small, so I'll probably do 3 if I took that one. Carrots are always a staple in a chop because they have a really high vitamin A content and are really good for budgies. Sometimes I like to just chuck a whole raw carrot into the bottom of the flight and they kind of chew on it like a dog toy and they absolutely decimate them. Right, so I have chopped up 2.5 carrots. Right, there we go. Now I shall add that to the bowl. Right, that's the carrot added to the bowl. Just give that a little mix. There we go. So that's that one. Now next I will do probably a pepper. Right, so I'm going to take a red pepper. Obviously you can use green, yellow, orange, any coloured pepper that you want, but I like to use red because it adds a bit of colour to the chop. So I'm just going to cut that up and then add that to the chopper. Right, so that's the pepper chopped up, and as you can see I've kept the seeds in there. You don't have to waste those. The budgies absolutely love pepper seeds. So that is the consistency of the pepper. As you can see, it is a little bit wet. So when I tip this out, I will kind of try and keep as much of the liquid in the pot. And then to combat the wetness, I have some porridge oats, which I add at the end. And that kind of soaks up all the excess water. So I'll add about a cup of the porridge oats. There you go, that's the peppers added. So give that a mix. Now we will add red chilies. As carrots and budgies alike do not have as many kind of taste receptors, taste buds as us humans, and they cannot taste spice. But these also have a lot of vitamin C in them and are quite good for them. Right, so there is the red chilies. Again, leave the seeds on. There's the red chilies. Now we'll add those in. There we go. That's the consistency of the red chilies. And that is actually really potent and is tickling my throat. Right, into the bowl. Right, that's the red chilies added in. Again, with all the seeds. Give that a mix. Looking very orange right now. All the green things are to come next. So next we are going to do, I've got some sliced runner beans. So we're going to put these in the chopper and add them in. There we go, I've cut them up even more, added them to the chopper. So now we'll cut them. There we go, there was some leftover chilies in there, but that's fine, it's going to all be mixed up anyway. Right, into the bowl. Right, there we go, runner beans are in the bowl. Give that a mix. Oh, close up there. There we go. Next, I'm going to add in some herbs. So I have got dill. I've got some basil. I have got some mint, and I always love to add mint because it just smells really nice. And then I have got some flat leaf parsley. So I'm going to chop these up one at a time and add them to the mix. First I have done the flat leafed parsley. That's the parsley all chopped. Now that's going to go into the bowl. Next up we have the mint. So I'm going to give this a quick chop. Right, there is the mint, and that smells so good. So I'll add that to the bowl. So the basil in the bag was not too good. It was a bit wet for my liking, so I'll just take some from my plant that I've been growing, and as you can see, cutting it back every couple of days to use. So I'll use some of that. There we go. Basil is in the bowl. Now I shall cut that up. There is the basil. There is some stalks in there still, and that's fine because the birds absolutely love to run around playing with the stalks of the herbs. So I will add that to the bowl. Last but not least, we have herb number 4, and that is dill. And I love dill. It's just so soft. There we go. That is the dill chopped up. Now I'm going to add that to the bowl and mix all those 4 in together. I'm going to mix all of this together in the bowl. There we go. That's all the herbs mixed in. Now I'm going to add some cauliflower and broccoli to the pot. I picked out all the broccoli first, so I'll do the broccoli first because my pot is not big enough to add the whole bag in. There you go, that's the consistency of the broccoli. Again, it's kind of like scrambled egg. That's the broccoli added to the bowl. I will give that a mix. It's very hard. The more the food goes in, the harder it gets to mix because it starts to go all over the sides. Now I'll add a handful of cauliflower and chop that up. Yummy, yummy cauliflower. Next, I'll add some curly kale to the pot. There you go, I took about a handful of kale and I'll put that in the chopper. There, that's the consistency of the kale. Now I will add that to the pot. There we go. Now I shall mix the kale in. There we go, that's looking really good. So next I'm going to add this little bag of chia seeds from Tesco. This adds a nice little bit of crunch, and they've got, this is 100 grams. I'm going to add the whole thing to the bag, and they really like that. There we go. Now I shall mix that one in. Right, so we are nearly finished. I just have to go and boil these 2 eggs, which I will do off camera, and I'll do that in a minute. I've got to add in my cod liver oil. I always do that last. But the last thing I'm going to do for the clip is I'm going to put in some frozen peas. I'm going to mix them in, and then I'm going to add some porridge, oats, and then I am done. So I'm just going to add in peas, the porridge, oats, and then the cod liver oil and the eggs. I'm going to cook those. I'm going to add them in just before bagging the food up. So bear with me and I'll add those 2 things in. There we go. We've got a good handful of peas there. So I'm going to mix that one in. There we go. That is everything mixed in. Again, I'm going to add these things in a second. I'm going to do that off camera because it gets very messy and it takes a really long time. But I will now, once that's done, I'll bag this up into freezer bags in small portions, and I give this 3 times a week. If it's really hot like it was like the last couple of weeks, I'll give it daily. But this will last me about 2 weeks. So I give all the birds about... let me see, I give them about that much on a spoon in a bowl, and they normally eat that within the hour. And then, yeah, I do change up my recipes sometimes. I do add different things depending on what's for sale in the shop. If you have any questions or anything else about this, then please comment below and I'll answer them as soon as I can.